part of government is also cooperating with us. For instance, the school, it took us a couple of months to convince the school that we need to fix their school for free, and now we have about 6 schools. Once we proved that we were going to do it, 6 schools call us, the headmistresses call us actually now and tell us, can you come and fix our schools for us? And we don't only fix schools, we have extracurricular activities for the students, as you saw. So it's not only about infrastructure, it's about the infrastructure of the mind. And that is so essential. And the discussion groups that you heard about earlier today, one big story that we were told, and I'm sorry I'm taking too long, but I'll close here.
I have to interrupt you.
Please do.
Just keep going, I know.
One thing that we were told early on, that boys and girls are not going to be meeting in one room. That is the first condition that we were told, and the only place that boys and girls meet in that community is in our community center. And you know, a political story. You dress as you like. You say whatever you want. This is about you. It's not about us. We're only making the facilitation process so that you come and tell your story to each other.
Speaking about the relationship between NGOs and the government, Your Royal Highness, as someone who has been involved in government and also has a lot of experience in the field of philanthropy, and with your organization being one of the oldest in the Middle East, 30 years old, are there certain lines that people involved in philanthropy shouldn't cross when it comes to politics?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إن تبدوا الصدقات فأنعما هي وإن تخفوها وتؤتوها الفقراء فهو خير لكم ويكفر عنكم من سيئاتكم والله بما تعملون خبير. إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. If ye disclose acts of charity, even so it is well. But if you conceal them and make them reach those really in need, that is best for you. It will remove from you some of your stains of evil, and Allah is well acquainted with what ye do. Alms are for the poor and the needy, and those employed to administer those alms. For those whose hearts have been recently reconciled to the truth, for those in the cause of Allah, and for the wayfarer. Thus is it ordained by Allah, and Allah is full of knowledge and wisdom. Your Majesty, as far as I can tell, charity should go where it is needed. And according to the instructions we have received from God Almighty, it says who are those who need charity. The poor, those in need, those whose hearts are reconciled to the truth, and also those in bondage and in debt and in the cause of Allah. So therefore, any act that can further those aims and those aspirations is doable and within the realm of charity work. As you know, Your Majesty, the 4th pillar of Islam is zakat, which is almsgiving. And when you started your comments, you talked about charity and philanthropy. And I can't see any separation between the two, because philanthropy definitely gives a long-standing and strategic outlook on charity that makes charity viable for a longer period of time. And this is what the King Faisal Foundation has tried to do since its establishment a little more than 30 years ago. Coming from an interview that the late King Faisal gave, his last interview actually, in which he was asked, what do you foresee for Saudi Arabia in the future? And he said, I see Saudi Arabia as a wellspring for humanity. And when he died, God bless his soul, his children decided to establish the foundation on those principles. So It is in terms of education. It is in terms of building schools and hospitals. It is in terms of alms giving, charity, food, medicine, clothes. All of these acts have to be encompassed within the framework of charity work. NGOs, wherever they may be, are definitely within the realm of alms giving and charity, as long as what they do is beneficial to mankind. And there is no distinction, Your Majesty. I think this has to be made, as far as Muslim thinking is concerned, between charity for Muslims and charity for non-Muslims. It should cover all of those in need, regardless of their origins or creed or their color. And alhamdulillah, as far as the King Faisal Foundation is concerned, the main principles that the late King put for us on the issue of being the wellspring for humanity is being done now through a university, a high school, and a research center, and a scholarship program for students, and grants for in more than 35 countries throughout the world, as well as in Saudi Arabia. And it has also, fortunately, set a standard for others to follow, and we see more such foundations. And today, of all days, when we're talking about philanthropy, the good news that Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid has established a fund of $10 billion for the benefit of the Arab world, that is something that should be applauded and recognized by everybody.
So my question about the relationship between NGOs and politics and government. For example, examples of Bob Geldof at one point didn't think that the president should run for re-election, as a result caused demonstrations in the country. Are there certain lines that philanthropists should not cross when it comes to politics? And anyone could feel free to answer this question. I think it's a very important question.
May I say that it depends what you mean by politics, Your Majesty. In today's world, I think when you say politics that has to do with raising the living standard of people, or providing education for the needy, or a hospital that may meet the requirements of a community, or any of such activities, it could be part of a political program. If you will excuse me for saying so, but most politicians in the world, in whichever country, would like themselves to be recognized as having either initiated such programs, either through government activity or on their own, or take credit for such programs, as Mr. Geldof has done in parts of the rest of the world, and politicians have attached themselves to Mr. Geldof's activities. It could come from the heart, definitely, and that's all and good. But I can't help but feel that there are some other aspirations as well than simply doing good, as my brother here, Ghandour, said, and feeling comfortable and going to bed at night with an easy heart.
At the other end of the spectrum, of course, we have sometimes situations where this social work is actually used just as a cover to further some political agendas, and that's something that we have to watch out for.
That's what we have to watch out for, yes.
And I want to pick up on one of the ayat that you read, fi surah, that says, and maybe Omar, you could answer this, that you can give in public or in secrecy. Now, contrary to the Western culture where people give openly and like to be acknowledged, in the Arab world we find that people prefer not to be acknowledged and almost to give in secrecy. Now, do you think that if people were to give more openly, that this would create more of a robust philanthropic environment in the Arab world?
Yeah, I'm not so sure that that's true anymore, that we don't like to give in public. People are becoming more and more conscious of where the money's come from and where it's going to go. And increasingly we're finding that people who want to, for example, give funds to the Emirates Foundation are quite happy to have that publicized in a way. And not only publicized, they're actually very happy to get involved in working out programs with us and setting agendas as well.
And does it encourage others then to give? There's this public acknowledgement?
I think absolutely. And I can't help thinking that perhaps what's happening in Dubai is in some way not a reaction, but a response in a way to what the Emirates Foundation has done as well. Of course, we're looking forward to working with them, and we applaud their huge endowment.
Because what we're concerned with is not just individual giving, but the creator of giving. And that's something that I think is still at its infancy in the Arab world. And I heard you once say that you're not concerned with individual volunteering, but creating a culture of volunteering. How do you go about doing that in your foundation?
Well, I think actually, there's much less work for us to do than we initially thought. We just established a national volunteer program in the Emirates, and we were overwhelmed with the response. Young men and women, kids from the age of 7 all the way up to 35, rushing to us with their details, with their enthusiasm, to get involved with projects wherever we could offer them. And in fact, now our problem is to actually try and find enough opportunities for them to put their energy into. We've been continually surprised, and I was particularly pleased to see the volunteers who spoke here today. It's something wonderful to see these young men and women really breaking all of the traditional stereotypes that we have in the Arab world. And I can't help thinking also that they shouldn't be seen as a threat. They should be seen as a tremendous opportunity. And it's up to us to begin to create structures for them, and that's exactly what they're looking for. These are their words. Thank you for creating a structure for us to actually begin to use our energy.
Well, as you know, 50% of the Arab world is under the age of 20, and that presents us with a great opportunity for a lot of energy that, if given the right structures, as you said, can be harnessed in the right way. Now, Barbara, in your center is very involved with basically framing this whole philanthropic field and doing a lot of research and data gathering, providing, if you will, proof of concept for civic engagement. Is the Arab world just made of a few exemplary examples as the ones that we've heard, or is there a real movement in this field?
Well, our center is very new. We've only had our doors open for 1 year, but we spent a year prior to that taking a look around the region. And we were struck at what I think you could almost call a phenomena of interest in institutionalizing giving. This has always been a generous region, and both Christians and Muslims give as part of being a good person and being as part of their devotion. But what was new and interesting to us was the readiness to form organizations, to bring people's resources together and to somehow think about being more effective. And I think there is every week or every month some new organizations sprouting up. And in each Arab country, they take slightly different forms because historically and in terms of legal structures, the environments are different. So we saw a moment in which we can catalyze and synergize some of that by simply sharing best practices, documenting and getting the word around. And I couldn't agree more with Omar, who says that a lot of this is being driven by young people. They are calling upon our generation to do more for them, to provide them with experience. And the skills of volunteering or of being a good citizen are not just the kind of thing I think we wake up overnight